We have seen, also in the last 24 hours, President Zelensky reiterate to the world the type of request for additional assistance that has been made here in Australia by Ukraine's ambassador to Australia. Australia has been the leading non-NATO contributor of assistance to Ukraine, and we ought to remain so. We should be at the forefront of assistance to Ukraine. Australia's response to Ukraine's call for more assistance should come swiftly, positively and generously. The Albanese government should make sure that Australia continues to give all we can to assist Ukraine in its military response, which to date has been a heroic defence of Ukraine, and ensure that we continue to provide other assistance, humanitarian and otherwise, to assist Ukraine in its efforts. It is in Australia's interests, as it is in interests of nations all over the world, for Ukraine to succeed in defence of its sovereignty and territories, and to uphold the type of international laws and rules in a way that can then deter others from ever acting in the type of way that President Putin and Russia have acted on this occasion. Happy to take questions.
Australia should continue to be the leading non-NATO partner or contributor to the war in Ukraine. Is that an endless commitment? I mean, how long can we continue to put forward resources when there is potentially a conflict brewing in our own backyard?
As I said, this is an important war. It's an important war not just for the people of Ukraine and the defence of Ukraine, but for setting example. And the example set to date has been one of overwhelming commitment from the rest of the world to help a small nation, in defence of itself, to help a small nation through the provision of military assistance, to help that small nation through the application of sanctions against the aggressor in Russia. And we ought to see that continued level of support because it is important to act as a deterrent to any others in the future.
So it's just an endless, as long as it takes, kind of commitment that we should be making here?
There's never a time to give up on the support for international rules and norms, on the support for sovereignty, territorial sovereignty and the freedom of peoples.
Senator, arrangements are still being finalised for Penny Wong to meet her Chinese counterpart. If that meeting was to go ahead, what would you like to see come out of that, especially in relation to territorial integrity as it stands with Russia, Ukraine, and also with the China-Taiwan ongoing dispute?
I acknowledge that the Albanese government has done the right thing in continuing to reaffirm that although there has been a change of government in Australia, Australia's national interests have not changed, that our strategic interests have not changed, and therefore with that there should be no change in relation to the application of policies that underpin those national and strategic interests of Australia. If China is now willing to engage in ministerial level dialogue and meetings with the new government, even though they've been unwilling in the past to do that with Australia, that's welcome because all Australian governments, the previous one and this one, have been willing to have that type of dialogue. Notwithstanding disagreements, we should and ought be able to progress in areas of mutual interest. It should be in our mutual interest to see peace and stability throughout the world. And I would urge the Albanese government to apply all encouragement to China, to use all influence China has to get Russia to cease and desist in its invasion of Ukraine, to urge Russia to lay down arms, to come to the negotiating table and to provide for the best path to that peace and prosperity. China has remarkable potential influence that it can use in this regard, and it ought to be encouraged and supported to do so.